So it was empty.
Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night. I want to run through some stuff here before we jump in with the Patriots. Reminder that we've shuffled the deck a little bit this fall. Monday nights like tonight will be Estacado Memorial and Liberty, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Tuesdays are Monterey and Coronado, 6 to 7 p.m. Wednesday nights, Lubbock High, Friendship, and Lubbock Cooper, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Friday nights from 6 to 6:30 on both Double T 97.3 and right here on 100.7 The Score. You can listen to the West Texas Friday Night Preview. Same two stations carry the West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard from 9:30 to midnight. Archive shows can be found on the High School Fan Zone page at doubleTSportsNetwork.com. And make sure you download the 100.7 The Score mobile app to listen live or to listen to podcasts of all the High School Fan Zone shows, including this one. I want to run through who Raymar carries because we carry a lot of football, high school football here on these airwaves. These guys, Liberty, are on 93.1 Yes FM. You will be able to listen to them against Monahan's Friday night, 7 p.m. from Patriot Stadium. Friendship is on Double T 97.3 FM. Lubbock Cooper, as they have been for a long time, I think even predating Joe Sexton, I'm not sure. 100.7 The Score.
Way back for that.
Coronado's on 96.9 The Bull. Monterey is on 93.7 The Eagle. When we come back from the next break, I'll run through this week's schedule again of who's playing where. We're going to talk about the Patriots right now, and I got to see them up close and personal last week, and they were impressive. They beat Idalou 55-12. Really took the game over in the second half. First half was semi-competitive. They were in control, but Idalou's got a lot of that old West Texas pride. They weren't going to go away quietly. And Mother Nature showed up. Steady rain. I called it a steady to moderate rain in the second half.
It was.
And I've told Joe this afterwards, to me that played Joe Sexton on my far left, by the way.
Barrett
Sugarek on my left.
Paxton.
Speaking of the microphone so they know
Paxton Lair.
Paxton Lair, make sure they know you by voice. I mentioned this to Joe after the game. Rainy weather, it wasn't a mutter because you guys have turf, but that plays right into Liberty's hands because these are just two of your big dudes. There's like 19 of them, I think, on both sides of the ball. So that kind of weather, I imagine you were smiling at halftime.
Oh, we were. That was one of the things that we talked about at halftime was it doesn't matter the weather. We're gonna do what we do, and we're gonna usually go straight ahead with these big guys, and it's been a lot of fun to watch them.
And it was fun to watch your skill position guys behind him. Idalou played pretty salty defense at first against Talon Wilcox particularly. They obviously were focused on letting him do a lot, and that little dude ran hard.
Yes. He probably hits the ball harder, hits the hole harder than pretty much any back that I've seen over the years. Like you said, he's not real big. He's probably 150 pounds maybe. But he runs hard, and he's hard to tackle just because he's so elusive.
And your quarterback did some running too. Now, I asked him about this afterwards. There was one run where he got loose and took a hit, and I saw him walk over to the sideline, and Coach Joe went up to him, put your arm around him, and it looked like that might have been a discussion about, do you remember what happened last year?
Yeah, we've had that conversation several times with Colton, but he just is so intent on trying to make a play, yes. And he doesn't even really think about that. Right as he was getting close to the end zone, he told me, he's like, I'm going.
That's what he told me too.
And that's just, you can't fault anybody for that. And so
no, I think his exact quote was, I wanted to score the touchdown.
Yeah.
You can't take that. As big dudes, Barrett, and
yeah.
When your quarterback wants to be that guy, you got to take some pride in that. Make sure you're opening holes for him.
Oh, for sure.
One of the good things with these guys is they will, they're always around trying to pick our guys up, and not only are these guys good football players, they're all good leaders, and that's what we've been looking for the last few years, and obviously we've grown up just a little bit, and
just a little bit.
It's been really good to see these guys operate the first two games.
I told you when you walked in, my wife, who's watched some football, she's a Plainview girl, she's watched some football over the years. The first thing when we sat down and you guys came out on the field, she looked down and she said, "Those guys are huge."
Right. Well, there's been several people that who have showed up to watch this practice who have said the same thing, that it's just night and day. We've had Barrett for 3 years now, and Paxton's been with us a couple of years, and just the amount of size that they've put on has been really good.
But for both you guys, you can be big. There's a lot of big football players that don't have technique, that don't have fundamentals. Paxton, these coaches have worked with you guys for a few years now. What have they done to kind of bring out those elements in you guys?
Yeah, for sure. They focus on technique, just little things. We still might not be the tallest, but we've still got size on us. So there's some big guys, and they might not have the best technique, so that doesn't make them a great football player. So Coach Newton's done a very good job with working on the little things and the techniques.
He may have there's only a few coaching voices that I can think of in my head that stick with me that I've heard, and just hearing him coach, I imagine that voice gets in your head, Barrett, and rattles around a little bit. What's your favorite quote from Coach Newton that you wake up hearing? Family radio, please.
My favorite quote is that he said over the years is the best feeling about being 1-0 is you get to have the chance to be 2-0.
Yep, I heard that the other night.
And that's what we've been. Of course, last year was kind of a tough year. We couldn't really get to experience that, but this year especially, it's different. We're bigger and stronger, and we're kind of just able to show that we can be the ones that kind of lay it out on people and not be the ones that get beat on. So it's a way better feeling this year. We're
going to talk about a little factoid here in a minute, but when I met Barrett was still a pretty, I don't want to say skinny. You were smaller.
a little skinnier.
You were a smaller first baseman. The first night I met you, I think out at Roosevelt, did you still hold the...
I still have the home run.
The first home run in Liberty history. Is that the only out-of-the-park home run?
No, Levi got one last year.
Okay, and I was there when Gavin hit one inside the park, which he probably could have gone around the bases another couple bases if he'd wanted to. Follow up on Paxton there, though. It's for you still, Barrett.
Oh, sorry.
You've been there since day one. What have the coaches instilled in you guys to just keep getting better every day?
Just kind of our work ethic, because of course, when we're younger, we don't really understand the importance of working hard and staying diligent in the weight room, stuff like that. And they just put that on, especially our coaches like Coach Q. Strength and conditioning has really helped us with that.
Well, we're coming up on a break. We're going to talk more about the Patriots and their 2-0 start when we come back in the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Liberty Athletics. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back into the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I mentioned that I was going to run through this week's schedule. I'm going to do that the last break because I want to actually have it called up so I know what I'm talking about. So we'll just talk about Patriot football instead. So I mentioned the factoid that I thought was the case when I was watching this, and then when I went downstairs, Colton Bouchard had informed you. I'm sure you would have figured it out at some point. That's the first time Liberty's ever won 2 games in a row.
Right. Yeah, he was the first one that brought that up, and so
quarterbacks are supposed to be good at math. So
well, he is. He's a smart guy. So I think we were walking probably after our last drive, and he walked up and he just said something. Hey coach, that's another first. What's that? He's like, first time we've ever won 2 games in a row. So we get a lot of firsts. Even our third year, we're still trying to find a lot of first time stuff for us.
Well, and what did Coach Newton tell you guys afterwards, though? You mentioned it a minute ago, Barrett.
Yeah, the good thing about being 2-0, you get the chance to be 3-0. So
you don't want to sit on that 2 for very long.
No, that's one good thing about with Coach Tolliver and Coach Newton. It's fun to celebrate for just a little bit, but we're ready to move on.
7 p.m. Friday at home again against Monahans at Patriot Stadium, chance to go to 3-0. What did you see, Joe, from your team? I half jokingly said this: when you win the way you did the first game, sometimes as a coach you're thinking, I want to see improvement from week 1 to week 2, but you guys were really good in week 1, really good in week 2. What did you see improvement wise?
Just the finish part. There was a lot of teams that would probably go in at halftime. Oh, it's raining. It's not real great conditions. But with our guys, it was one of the things that we talked about is how much fun it is to play in the rain. Because there's you just go.
Yep.
And it's I think they had a good time. I had a good time out there. Just seeing these guys sliding around and everything. It was, but just finishing the game was really good for us. But just like every other game, Saturday morning we start watching film, and one of the things that stood out to me that we have to correct is we had a few penalties that you're playing good teams. You can't give up yardage, and so that was the first thing that we talked about this morning before we hit the weight room. Is we got to really work on playing smarter, and every game there's going to be something that we need to talk about.
You keep winning, you get to keep talking about them until that last one, and you don't have to talk about it. The only thing missing the other night was mud, and I'm going to guess these guys would have enjoyed a little bit of mud.
Oh yeah, I mean mud, whatever. If we ever get to play on a grass field, it's not going to bother these guys any.
I did mention to Colton that was good sliding weather. He could have slid a couple of times, but
yeah, that's one of the things that we have talked about. Step out of bounds, get down, and he just doesn't do it.
Nope. But he made plays. 518 total yards, which I think is another first. I think Barry said it's the first time you've gone over. And Chip Darden will argue with me about this. Sometimes yards are misleading, but yards the other night were pretty indicative of how well you guys played.
Right. You can run for a whole lot of yards, but if you're giving up a whole lot of yards on the other side, it really doesn't matter. Yep. If you think of some of the Tech games where they win 63-62 or get beat 63-62. It's at some point, you've got to clamp down and play a little defense.
Now, I know you two play a little bit of defense, but mostly you go against those guys in practice. Barrett, how good is your defense right now?
Our defense is really good, especially like Isaac, because I've known him since we've started, and he's grown a lot, especially with strength and his ability to his moves and stuff like that. And he's really grown as a defender. Braxton's really been. You can't run on him. And then we have, I think Rylan Thomas is our other end, and he's really good. He's young and he's already making plays. So that's especially we've been really good. Our defense is phenomenal, and our backers too, like Jackson Thomas, Luke Livingston, our safety has been really good. Josiah Rosales and all them, they've all been really well. So it's been really fun to see.
Paxton, how much, especially your defensive line, how much does that help you guys get better every day? Because you guys are really good, but sometimes you need somebody to push you a little bit.
Yeah, complimentary football. We love to talk about that. Defense gets off the field really fast, gets us right back on it, so get us a score. But, they just make us better. Going against them sometimes, can't complain. They make us better every day.
Barrett mentioned a couple of names. If you were getting ready to play your defense for another team, who's the one guy that you would look up at and say, oh, I don't want him across from me?
Isaac Rodriguez.
Okay. That was a pretty quick answer.
Yes, sir.
And he made some plays the other night. Joe, we're getting close to a break, so I'm not going to jump too far in. But I'm going to plant the seed with you. That defense had some struggles last year.
Right.
It'd be nice about saying that. I want you to kind of think when we come back about what you mentioned that you guys tweak some things. I want you to kind of think about what the biggest difference has been so far in 2 games. Now, size matters, and size helps, but also takes some technique and want to. So, coming up on a break, this is the Patriot Fan Zone on 101.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. We'll be back right after this.
Bringing you the latest news from Liberty Athletics. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back into the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score on a Monday. Real quick, this week's city football schedule. Thursday night, Lubbock High is at home against Snyder at Lowry Field. That's the HubSpeedPreps.com game of the week. Friday night, Friendship is at home for the first time this season against Wichita Falls Legacy. That'll be on Double T 97.3 FM. Coronado goes to Abilene to take on Abilene Wiley at 7 p.m. That'll be on 96.9 The Bull. Lubbock Cooper is at home against Tascosa. That is right here on 100.7 The Score. Monterey makes the long trip to El Paso to take on El Paso Franklin. That's on 93.7 The Eagle. Estacato's at home against what I think is number 2 West Plains. That's at 7 p.m. at Lowry Field. That's on a different network. Liberty, these Patriots are at home against Monahan, 7 p.m. at Patriot Stadium on 93.1 Yes FM. Trinity Christian is at home the first time this season against Denver City at Warwick Memorial Stadium. Lubbock Christian is at home against Stanford, another great West Texas team coached by Wayne Hutchison, former Monterey coach. Levelland's at home against Idalou, a couple teams that these Patriots have seen and one they will see again this year. And then Plainview is at Hereford. In six-man football, Christ the King goes down to Midland to take on Midland TLCA. Kingdom Prep hits the road for Wichita Christian. I think both those games kick off at 7. I'll say 7 just to be safe. If they start later, enjoy the concession stand. Enjoy that concession stand at Patriot Stadium there. Make these guys a little bit of money.
Oh, yeah. You can't go wrong with Riversmiths.
There we go.
That's, I almost, I don't know if I can say it, but that's some of the best chicken in town.
Well, Chris Berry's a guy I got to meet and sit down with. He's just a very good guy.
Oh, yeah. He's very good to us. I think he's good to all the high schools.
Yes,
he does concessions for a lot of people, and he goes out of his way to make sure we have what we need.
At this time of year, I tell my wife that you probably could take my blood alcohol content. It's going to show a lot of chicken and catfish because of that, because of the places I go on Friday nights.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yes, it is. And they also bring those cookies that are. Do they bring those to the locker room?
No,
I know you.
I don't think there's really usually any of those left.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that I help with that as much as I can. So, and that's a little bit evil. But anyway, let's stop talking about food and start talking about defense. I planted the seed. Dwayne Tolliver, you told me that in the offseason he kind of went into the lab and started moving things around. What has been so good about this defense?
I really think it's just our mindset. We hadn't really changed any pieces that much. And like I said the other day, we've tweaked moving some people around, and I think it's just the mindset of we're going to stop the run. Our safeties get really involved in the run. Our outside linebackers, inside linebackers. Shoot, the other night it was our defensive linemen that were really dominant, and sometimes like our Mikes would come to the sideline and coach, I can't get there because Isaac's there or Ryland is there.
That's not the worst problem to have.
Yeah, I was like, well, consider yourself lucky, because people have to expend a whole lot of energy blocking those guys, and sometimes people like Jackson Thomas sits back there about 8 yards deep and just gets a run to the football. So, but I really think it's just the mindset. We started day one or last spring, and we're just, we are going to stop the run. That's going to be our first priority, and really make people do things that they don't want to do. So it's been good first 2 weeks.
I'm not that good at math. I used to be good at math, and then I got old, so I'm not as good as math as Colton clearly is. But I'm going to say these numbers because this doesn't take a mathematician. Idalou ran. Let me count this up. 45 plays, had 98 total yards. 56 of that came on 2 plays. The little trick play. Sometimes trick plays work.
Yeah, they got us on that one.
Yep. And then a really well-defended pass play where brother to brother. It looked like they'd done that a few times on the playground.
Yeah, that was a great throw and catch that they had.
So if my math is right, other than that, 28 snaps, or not, I'll mess that up. 43 snaps for 56 total yards. That's good math.
Well, that usually works.
Yes, it does.
Now, in the spread era, I was talking to Coach Tolliver. I mean, it was he doesn't really like the pat on the back just a whole heck of a lot. He's kind of looking down the road and seeing what else we could do. But, in the spread era, that doesn't happen just a whole heck of a lot just because – it's so hard to defend, and they had some really great receivers and quarterback and running back. So it was something that our defense played really well.
I'll pat him on the back for something. My wife was at the game with me. We sat right next to the Liberty coaches. I think there was only maybe one expletive uttered, and she complimented him for how well how clean it was over there.
Yeah, well. we try to have a family atmosphere as much as we can, but sometimes emotions run high on Friday night for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this, Dwayne Tolliver controls that press box pretty well. So
yes, he does.
That's going to wrap us up in the Patriot Fan Zone. We'll have these guys back soon. We may jump in and get the Liberty volleyball girls in here next week. They're ranked number 1 in start district play. Please come back tomorrow night. We'll be back in the high school fan zone with Coronado and Monterey. This is Randy Rosetta, and it's 100.7 The Score.